Let's go here. Logs out of here. Okay, we should be live soon. So just welcome in, guys. I will be live with you in just 1 second. Just gonna put in my headphones. But if you're joining us here, guys, we are going to be not actually streaming FIFA. I just have that up right now just to get squad battle stuff done, so I can get some coins and stuff like that. But more than likely, we are probably going to be discussing more of the NBA news and rumors going around the NBA as of right now. Let me just double check and make sure to have the window capture on, because I'd rather talk some news and rumors about that. So let's see here really quick. Properties. Let's see here. Maybe this, yeah. This should be on. Turn off the Elgato. Perfect. So, like I said, guys, welcome once again to the NBA live draft really quick. We are going to be talking some news and rumors here, and sorry if I have this kind of like low melodic voice. Let me just grab my water really quick. But yeah, I'm just going to be grabbing my water. Don't want to see you guys have me to walk like 2 feet to go get my water. But nevertheless, welcome in, guys, once again. Hit that like button. Also remember to subscribe as well. If you're new to the channel, like I said, we're going to be discussing some news and rumors. So the reason why I prompted to do this is because I know that there's going to be a big trade or some sort of rumor that's going to be going on in the NBA. Have to look at my camera right here. But I do think that there's going to be a big trade coming on. And I think that by the time you guys watch this video, I'll probably change the title of it. The rumor that I'm hearing right now is that James Harden could potentially be going to an Eastern Conference team not named the Philadelphia 76ers. Some rumors that I've heard was actually James Harden to the Brooklyn Nets. And that's kind of a interesting situation to go on. I know that that's something that a lot of people are talking about. Adrian Wojnarowski, Rob Lowe reported that James Harden has the Brooklyn Nets upon his wish list. And Brooklyn with James Harden, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, that would actually be an insane team. And I think that team, as much as I think we credit the Lakers for, getting Dennis Schroeder, which we'll talk about a little bit later in this draft, because I think it's actually a big pickup. And I don't think people underestimate the great ability of Dennis Schroeder. And we'll kind of talk a little bit more about Lakers news and rumors too. Is that if James Harden was to go to the Brooklyn Nets, that team would be ridiculously good. It would be the return of the 3-star team. And I think that's like something that a lot of teams haven't had. We haven't had that in a couple years. So I think the Nets are kind of seeing this as an opportunity to, let's say, you know what? Let's try and go get this championship. Let's try and go get this. And I think that's something that the Brooklyn Nets are really looking into, is whether or not they're going to get him. And, we kind of have here from Sam Vinci, I'd be surprised if the Nets have the assets. I mean, they have enough picks and pieces that they can potentially make this a huge trade assets. And we know that Russell Westbrook wants out of Houston. And if Russell Westbrook wants out of Houston, we for sure know that James Harden will want out. Because who else is there for James Harden to play with? Like PJ Tucker, who wants a new contract. I mean, that's going to cost a lot of money. There's just a lot of situations going on with the Houston Rockets where I don't think it would be such a good idea for him to be going there. But I don't know. I'm interested to see what goes on in that situation. Like, will James Harden be the right piece for the Brooklyn Nets? In just 1 second, guys. I'm just going to quickly go get some more water. Red out of water. That's just a new move. So I'll play some music in the background while you guys are doing our thing over here. Let's go to YouTube. See if there's any lo-fi beats. Just to kind of chill and relax too. I will be right back, guys. I just have to go get some water. Doesn't look like there's anybody here anyway. But for people that are wondering if you're going to rewind it, I'm just going to get some water right quick. So just listen to a little bit of this music. And I'll be right back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am back. Obviously, there's no one here on the watching right now, but for the people that are gonna rewatch this back and kind of talk about this, guys, this is actually really big news for the Houston Rockets because we know the Houston Rockets and Presti and Morey more than Presti's on a different team, but Daryl Morey was really interested and invested in the Houston Rockets to get them over the hump, to get them to the championship. And ultimately, they failed. And I think the year that they got Chris Paul, I think was the year that they should have won the championship. That was like their the smallest window you could give a team. That was the window. And unfortunately, they just didn't capitalize on that window. Missed shots from everywhere. The 27 missed shots in the game against the Golden State Warriors will always be ingrained in my mind as the game that they blew. Because that was the game that they literally should have won and gone to the NBA Finals, and that's who LeBron James should have faced. And ultimately, that's just the sad fact. That's the cold hard facts. Is that's kind of the situation. And so I don't blame guys like Russell Westbrook and James Harden for wanting to leave when you know that the Houston Rockets haven't really been doing good by you. They haven't really done really well by you. So, I mean, let's kind of look at the trade simulator. I mean, if we go to like a trade simulator for the NBA. And kind of see here really quick, kind of looking at, I don't know if there's, no, this is a draft. This is a mock draft simulator. I don't want a mock draft. I want a trade machine. Trade NBA, and just kind of let's look at this. Fire up the trade machine. First off, we got, of course, the Brooklyn Nets, and then, of course, we have the Houston Rockets on the other side. I mean, okay, so obviously they want to trade James Harden to the Nets, and that's kind of the cold hard facts. I think Spencer Dinwiddie is obviously going to be one of the options that has to go. I think that he will be going over there. I'm not sure if it's going to let me know, so probably going to have to trade a couple more pieces. I think LeVert you have to trade, as much as it would suck. I mean, the only one I could see maybe is no, because I think he's still a free agent, so I don't think so. You're going to keep DeAndre Jordan just because they're friends with those guys. I mean, Jared Allen might be a guy that you just trade away, get some pieces for. Maybe. See, there's no one really. I mean, he's going to go to the free agency, so he doesn't really count. I think it has to be Caris LeVert. And then maybe, a couple of these guys that are worth like a couple contracts. I mean, there's not really much people, but I would think that this is kind of the trade that would be going on. I mean, you have to trade those three guys. I mean, let's kind of look at the ESPN trade machine, just because I think it'll tell us easier, like, hey, this trade works, or hey, this trade doesn't. And so if we kind of look here really quick, guys, Houston Rockets, James Harden. Whoops, did not mean to click on his profile, but let's say James Harden's going to go. So we're trading away. Who are we trading away? So we're trading away Jared Allen. We're trading away. Where is he? Spencer Dinwiddie. I think we're also going to have to start trading away Caris LeVert. His new contract starts up next year. So he's going to have a ton of money going in there. I don't think this trade works out. We're still we're still a couple mil short. I could see this trade working out. Obviously, Caris LeVert's contract has to be activated for the next year. Obviously, he was on a rookie deal. He signed an extension, and I think that could potentially work. I think that the Houston Rockets will be willing to do anything at this point. They'll be willing to get. I think right now the Houston Rockets should be looking at a complete rebuild. Not saying that they need to get rid of everybody and trade for the number one pick for 2023 when you got guys like Amani Bates, who's a really good prospect. You got guys like Chet Holmgren, who's also another person that could potentially be a really good player. And I kind of want to watch some highlights of those guys. I know that they had a game in November, so I kind of want to watch that game to kind of look at who could potentially be someone that we're interested in. And sorry, guys, just want to make sure that my girlfriend got home in time. Hasn't texted me yet, so she'll text me when that happens. But nevertheless, guys, that's kind of the big news and rumors. Honestly, I know as we talk about trade eve, as I like to call it, or free agency eve, there's definitely going to be some good scenarios for a lot of teams. A lot of teams are going to be looking at, okay, who can we get and who can we not get, and so. I can potentially see a situation where you have James Harden leaving, you have Russell Westbrook, who has a lot of options. I think in a New York kind of sense, I do think that we could be seeing potentially Russell Westbrook going to the New York Knicks. I think New York Knicks has Russell Westbrook written all over him, and so I could potentially see that happening. I don't see why not. I think that Russell Westbrook actually makes perfect sense in New York. It's a change of scenery. It's something that's lively. The only problem, and it's not because of the city. It might be because of the city itself, depending on what you think of it. But with the whole pandemic going on, is it really a city that is it what it once was, right? Where it was lively, you could go out to the town. Like, I don't see that happening in New York anymore, unless you're like on a solid team like you are in Brooklyn with guys like I said, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, and now James Harden might be potentially added to the team. I mean, it's going to be one of those situations where I'm interested to see what could happen in this. But nevertheless, guys, this is kind of the biggest news and rumors. We'll kind of go over some real GM news and kind of see some NBA other news that we could potentially be looking at. Let's kind of look at the list that they said. I don't think they even gave a list of anything. There have been no trade discussion with one another, but we all know that the trade rumors, like, it's either a bunch of garbage or it could be some truth to it. And that's kind of the interesting situation when it comes to this. As I'm trying to play FIFA and do this at the same time, but I'm really here to talk about the news and rumors for the NBA rather than playing FIFA at this point. Another kind of big interesting thing is that we got the Lakers also interested in Danny. Let's kind of move on to the Lakers side of things. I think that's kind of the more interesting part of it, because I think when it comes to the Lakers, obviously they're the champions. They have LeBron James. They have Anthony Davis. And we'll talk about Anthony Davis further in this video. But let's start off with the first thing. It looks like the Lakers are interested in signing Wesley Matthews to replace Danny Green. And before I think they say that they should be going for Wesley Matthews, in my opinion, I think that they really should be going for Joe Harris. Harris from the Brooklyn Nets was a player from Chelan. He actually played here in the greater Seattle area, or not Seattle, but the Washington area, more in the, I believe, central of Seattle, or central of the state. And I just think that that's probably a better fit. I mean, a three-point shooter, that's all he's asked to do, can do some other things here and there, but I think in terms of three-point shooting, I think Harris has the ability, and he's won a couple three-point contests. And not saying that the three-point contest is the end-all, be-all, but I do think that he could be a potential player for them to sign. I think that he could be a good player to sign. Won't be too expensive, I don't think, and I think that he would be a much better fit than Wesley Matthews. I know they're looking for that 3-and-D. We know that Danny Green's on the older side, so he's not going to be doing that as much, but that's just kind of my opinion on that situation. Looking elsewhere, we also see that Anthony Davis declined his player option and will now become a unrestricted free agent. I mean, I don't see the Lakers losing him at all. I think the Lakers are going to re-sign him. It's just going to be interesting to see if any team can kind of come in and be like, you know what, maybe we can offer you something that the other guys can't. And that's something that we'll see here in the near future. Sorry, guys, just want to kind of get off that so it's not playing in the background. But yeah, I do think that could be a situation that we could see from the team is like, hey, you know what, Anthony Davis, the choice is yours. And I think that, his agent, Rich Paul, is going to make a great effort for him. But at the end of the day, I don't think he's going anywhere. I still think he's going to stay in Los Angeles. I don't see him going anywhere. I mean, where would he go? There's not really a place. I mean, obviously there is some places. He can go to Golden State and maybe win a championship there. But I do think that the LA Lakers with LeBron James are going to go for it again, see what they can do, and kind of, I'm not saying like prove the haters wrong, because I know a lot of the haters are saying that it's a Mickey Mouse ring that they won this last championship. But to be honest with you, it's not. I don't know where this notion of Mickey Mouse championship or ring pop championship or championship that doesn't count is just ludicrous, and it's absolutely asinine. I'm sorry. It's asinine that they're allowed to say that about that championship, because it's not true. It's not true at all. And I hope that Anthony Davis and LeBron James know that, but we'll see, man. We'll see what the Lakers can muster up. But like I said, I don't think that Anthony Davis is really going anywhere. This is just for him to make the most money he can. He's going to do the LeBron James route, sign maybe a 2-year with a player option, and get the most money that he can each and every year that he gets older. I think that's kind of the route that a lot of these players are going to go down, especially the superstar players. I think that the max players, the players that are more like, role players or kind of star players, will take a big contract and kind of chill there. So we'll see what happens. I'm kind of interested to see if Anthony Davis might be, someone or something that could happen in that situation. But let's move on to kind of the biggest news coming from this, and that's, of course, the Lakers have agreed in principle with the Oklahoma City Thunder because the free agency hasn't started just yet. I think it starts tomorrow, or maybe, even starts maybe now, midnight, because obviously the East Coast. But yeah, Dennis Schroeder is officially going to be an LA Laker. It's they're going to send the 28th overall pick and Danny Green, and this is, to me, is a big good step in the right direction for the LA Lakers trying to rebuild this team. When it comes to the LA Lakers, we know that they are going to be looking at getting rid of some dead weight, and I think Danny Green was that dead weight. And unfortunately, even though that Danny Green played a really good and tremendous role for the LA Lakers during that whole season, to be honest with you, I think his time has come as a player that could be a potentially role-playing NBA championship type of player. Not saying that he's a bad player, just saying that in terms of his impact on the court, I think it's better suited for a team trying to get to the playoffs rather than a team trying to win a playoff or win a championship. So, looking at Danny Green as well, he is someone Dennis Schroeder. I think Dennis Schroeder is like a Rondo. He's the German Rondo, as I believe Bill Simmons called him. Not saying that I put any stock into what Bill Simmons says, because he's kind of a, let's just say, an interesting person that, I don't necessarily agree with all of his opinions, even though we are both Celtics fans. But I do think that Dennis Schroeder is a better version of Rondo. I think that he could potentially be someone that is better than Rondo. And I think that this is the kind of perfect signing that they don't need to, I think they like Kuz for some reason. I don't know why. A young player still, but could potentially grow into something more. Not my cup of tea, but hey, to each their own, right? And I do think that Green didn't really add anything to it. And so I think that he's going to move on. And I like the pickup because basically Dennis Schroeder replaces Rondo in this situation. And I think that because he plays Rajon Rondo, you're set. I don't think you have to deal with anything else, really. It's going to be interesting to see if, guys like Joe Harris or Wesley Matthews, who are also rumored, like we talked about. Like I said, my pick is for Joe Harris to get signed and to move on to the LA Lakers. I think it would be a tremendous pickup for the LA Lakers. But that's just my opinion. I don't think that there's really much to say about that. But one thing that is for certain, guys, is that we know that Dennis Schroeder will definitely be a tremendous factor for this team. He was kind of a tremendous factor for the Thunder, and the reason why they got to the playoffs and the reason why they're playing so well. They definitely played a tremendous part into it. And we saw that, according to Kevin O'Connor of The Ringer, the Bucks were also trying to get Dennis Schroeder. So that's definitely a big swoop for the LA Lakers to grab Dennis Schroeder and not let him go to the rival, Eastern Conference team that's trying to win a championship. So, I like the pickup. I like the trade. I think it's going to be a tremendous trade for the LA Lakers, and I think that they're going to be acquiring more assets. They're going to be acquiring more players, and we could potentially see this team kind of restock and rebuild for when they go again to fight for another championship. I think it's just that simple. I think that they have the ability, they have the capability of doing everything like that. Now, the biggest question is going to be, Anthony Davis. How much does he re-sign for? Is he going to resign long-term? Because we know that the Lakers are kind of looking for that long-term commitment at this point. They're not trying to, mess around and do anything. They're trying to win a championship, and I think another one at that, which obviously they have won one already, but I think they're trying to win more. And so that's kind of an interesting situation, in my opinion, as we continue to look forward to these trades. And kind of moving on to more of the situation, I think that's really it. I mean, we got Kostas Koufos. I remember this guy. Kevin Porter Jr. got arrested on Saturday night with weapon charges. I wonder if he was in... Let's see here. That's kind of a situation that we'll kind of read into later. I'm not really into like the whatchamacallit, the sort of like legal stuff. It's just not like in my repertoire. I like doing more news and rumors. If it's a serious crime, like, I mean, not saying that's not serious crime, but just like If it's something that affects a player, affects a team in a huge capacity, to the point where like teams have to release him, then I will cover it. So we'll kind of be wait and see on that approach from Kevin Porter Jr. Obviously from the greater Seattle area, just like myself. So I'm hoping that everything is fine in that case, and we'll see what happens. Nicholas Batum, keep getting that money as he is going to exercise his $27.1 million player option. How in the world did this guy get that much money? I'm sorry, dude. Like I know he was a decent player, but like to have that much money, that's just mind numbing. Like why? It's just like, roughly 10 mil per point per game. Like that's crazy. I can't believe that he's making that much money in 2021, 2020 season. Like it's just absolutely insane. I just can't believe that at this point. It's just like, ugh. But anyway, let's kind of move on to more news and rumors on ESPN side of things. Looks like Ball holds a second workout ahead of the draft. It looks like it might have been a good workout. Let's see. I'm not sure if it was on the TV. But Golden State Warriors are there, the Charlotte Hornets, Detroit Pistons. We know that LaMelo Ball is going to be the number one pick. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The Timberwolves are going to be taking him to play along with D'Lo. I think this team could be potentially a great young team, depending on how they nurture and develop LaMelo Ball. They're going to have to do it in the right way. Excuse me. They're going to have to do it in the correct way, but I do think that LaMelo Ball could be a great pickup. I think he could be a great asset to any team, and this might be just me being a biased LaMelo Ball fan, but I think he's really that good. I think he's the real deal, and I think that if given the time, he could be a really great player. Let's kind of see here. Let's see here. They're going to add that. Eyeing bigger deal, declines contract option. Yeah, we kind of realized that from there. I do think that there's a lot of situations going on for the NBA. Obviously, when it comes to the NBA, the biggest takeaway for me is going to be the fact that, what did these teams do? Caron Butler is going to be an assistant coach now. There's just so much news and rumors, guys, that it's a fun situation, guys. It's a really fun time right now. We see, Ball holding a second workout. Let's kind of look up some NBA draft news really quick and see if there's anything going on. I don't think there should be too much news, but let's kind of make sure and see if there's any news. We kind of see the most intriguing things, top prospects, who are the second round sleepers. I like this kid from Oregon. Oh, what's his name? It's gonna escape me. Peyton Pritchard. I like this kid. I think he's gonna be a great player. I actually had a nice chance to talk to him actually when we were down there for my high school basketball team that I'm coaching. We were down there, and I was able to kind of chat with him a little bit, talk to him a little bit more about basketball and stuff like that. His IQ is tremendous. I love watching him play when he was at Oregon. I think he's going to be a decent player in the NBA. It's just a matter of like what team is going to give him that opportunity. And as we kind of look here, there was kind of an interesting situation coming about with the mock draft and kind of like looking at, there's a lot of intriguing options for everybody. Like who is going to be there for people? I think when it comes down to it, I think when it comes down to who's going to be the best NBA player in this draft, I have to say it's got to be LaMelo Ball. Like I don't know who else in this draft you could talk of. Tyrese Halliburton could be an interesting prospect. I think his jump shot's a little funky, but if he gets it off that quick, I don't think it matters that much. We'll see how it is in the NBA compared to the the college basketball realm. But I don't think that Anthony Edwards to me is the number one pick. Not saying that he's not going to be a great player, but I don't think he's going to be as intriguing as players like LaMelo Ball or James Wiseman or even Tyrese Halliburton, just because those guys have so much like potential and growth where I don't think that Anthony Edwards has as much as those guys. Maybe I could be wrong. I think Anthony Edwards is going to be a great player in this league. I'm not going to deny his ability. But I don't know if necessarily the shooting percentage to me is what's going to really kill it for me. And not saying that LaMelo Ball shot it any better, but I do think that it's going to be one of those situations where he could be potentially, could potentially be seeing something in the NBA. I don't know. Like I'm very curious to know about Anthony Edwards' kind of projection and growth in the NBA, depending on what team he goes to. I don't think he's going to go to the Minnesota Timberwolves. I think the Timberwolves are going to be looking at LaMelo Ball in this aspect. And kind of moving on to James Wiseman, the Golden State Warriors are kind of looking for that next big man. The question is, like, are they going to go for a big man, or are they going to try and go for more of a guards kind of forward type of option? There's so many different routes that you can go in this draft just because it's so open. There's not like a consensus number one pick. Like, as much as I love LaMelo Ball, he's not a consensus number one pick, and that's kind of the reality and the aspect of this team. Like, and that the reality and the aspect of okay, she's good. She's home. That's kind of the reality and the aspect of LaMelo Ball. Is like, you know, this draft is so open. There's not like a consensus clear cut winner as there was in years past. So we'll see what happens. Like, I'm curious to know as we continue to watch here, you know, who people like, who people don't like. I mean, I think LaMelo Ball could be an interesting scenario player, and I think that you know they have him going number 3 to the Charlotte Hornets. Who knows, man? Like, I think it's going to be a fun situation to watch. I know there's rumors that LaMelo Ball could fall out of the draft. Like, I just don't see that happening. I think he's too talented. I think that he's too interesting of a prospect to even drop anywhere. Like, even below top 5. I don't think he's dropping below top 5. He's going to go top 5. People are going to try and trade up for him. It's just a matter of time before someone selects him. But, you know, we'll see what happens. You know, I kind of want to talk about let me see if I have it here. No, not what I want. Not what I want. Let me see if it's in the draft, and I'll start a different stream for this one just because I want to make it like a stream and then make it a video later on. Kind of talking about it. Let me see here. I don't want to let you guys see the background work, so I can talk about this. And as I'm kind of talking about this, let's kind of go over again the prospects. We were kind of looking at this a little earlier. Let's see here. We're going to talk about this since I pay for ESPN Plus. It's a great feature to have sometimes when you pay for ESPN Plus. But let me see here for my Gmail because I want to really get this up really quick. Might be under sent. Yeah, let's see here. Should have been sent to myself. Maybe I didn't send it to myself. I thought I did. Maybe I didn't. Maybe in drafts. Let's double check. Maybe I didn't send it. Okay. You know, kind of scratch that. We'll kind of go over it in a little bit. I think I just have to resend it from my MacBook a little bit later. But let's kind of go over this little list, guys. I know that we kind of look at LaMelo Ball, kind of his strengths and weaknesses, his kind of player situation. Like we said, Caris LeVert, Sean Livingston, Zach LaVine. I think he can be better than all those guys. I think LaMelo Ball has the ability at his age, at his height, at his wingspan, that he could potentially be like a superstar player. Something that I like about him better is like offensively, I think he's got it. And I think offensively he's got it. Sorry, I was meant to say. I think offensively he's got it, but I think defensively he will be able to, I think he'll be able to catch up. But I think that it's going to take some time, just like it took Lonzo some time. I'm not expecting LaMelo Ball to be like an all-in-all superstar player like by the time he's on his first real NBA game. I think it's going to take him a lot of time, and I think the growth and potential could be a situation where he could be a good player. I don't know why people are kind of downgrading him. I think that he could potentially be someone that's a great type of player. Kind of looking at other players, I think Jaden McDaniels is also someone that teams are kind of looking at. I think this pick that the Brooklyn Nets have will be traded to the Houston Rockets, and this will be the Houston Rockets pick. So I don't think that Jaden McDaniels is someone that he's going to be going to. I mean, Jonathan Isaac, Mo Harkless, I don't know. Like he played at UW. I remember watching him a little bit about this, but I don't know. Hey Tyrese, how you doing, man? The Celtics move. I think they have to trade this pick. I think they have to trade this pick because as of right now, they currently have us getting Precious. I believe he's out of Kansas, if I'm not mistaken. Or Memphis, excuse me. He's out of Memphis. Has Bam Adebayo, Tristan Thompson, Damari Stoudemire vibes. I think they traded. I don't buy Drew. Yeah. I mean, okay, Tyrese. The question I have for you is, what do you make of Miles Turner? Do you like him? Do you not like him? Like, I'm kind of iffy on him. I think that ultimately my dream scenario would be to get Karl-Anthony Towns. Is it realistic? Probably not. But I do think that we could have a potential chance to get him if we trade a couple pieces and that first round pick, and do something. But that's just kind of my wishful thinking. Like, will that happen? It's tough because I don't know if that's going to happen. I want it to happen. I want Karl-Anthony Towns to come to the Celtics. And I think having a big man like that who offensively could get it done is someone that I would rather much have than Miles Turner, who defensively is a great player, but offensively is still kind of limited in his ability to score around the basket. I know that the new thing is for the centers to stretch the floor out and shoot threes, but I still need a guy that can finish inside because, as we saw, with Miami, they gave us a run for our money, and I foresee them running that zone again. Even though it was a gimmick, even though they ran it a couple times, I could still see them running some type of zone or some type of situation like that. But, I mean, I don't know. I like him better defender than Towns, and he can shoot 3-pointers and stretch, but better rebound. I don't knock Miles Turner. I actually liked him coming out of the draft when he was coming out. But the thing is it's is Indiana going to be willing to do that? I mean, they're kind of in this sort of, they want to win now. And that's kind of the biggest kind of question mark about the Indiana Pacers, is that they really want to win. They're tired of kind of being in this mediocrity. I mean, I'm going to be surprised if Victor Oladipo isn't traded, because I'm sure they want to have a superstar. That's the reason why they got rid of their coach, even though I don't agree with them getting rid of their coach. He still got them to the playoffs, and I think that he was still doing an amazing job. But I don't know. The Indiana Pacers are a team that I don't know if they'll be willing to trade and get rid of players. But that's just kind of my opinion of it. Miles Turner's kind of a big player. I mean, let's kind of look at other NBA big men in the league that we could potentially trade for with that pick. Oh, dang it. F11. Whoops. Sorry for that one. NBA. All right, I don't want big and tall. I just want decent. I hate these fan side websites. They're just so annoying. Okay, this is kind of the big man that the Celtics should be getting. This is what Boston has us as a draft focus here. Okongwu, that I don't see that happening at all. Jalen Smith, maybe. Jaden McDaniels, no. Isaiah Stewart, maybe. Killian Tilly, maybe. I think Killian Tilly is kind of he's got a Celtics vibe to him. I don't know. I feel like the Celtics would take a guy like this for some reason. See a mock trade that gave us James Harden. I mean, Tyrese, where do you see that at? I mean, I haven't seen any news and rumors about him going to the Celtics. Let's see here. Harden to Celtics. See, as much as I love Harden, just because he's a fellow lefty, I don't think that he necessarily fits our team, and it's kind of the reason why Kyrie Irving didn't work for us. Kyrie Irving didn't work for us for a multitude of reasons, but the ISO ball stuff is something that I want to get rid of on this team. We saw how much it affected guys like Jason Tatum, who in the playoffs really choked away some games because he decided to go for an ISO ball instead of letting us draw him up a play and trying to make a play on that. That's kind of the frustrating thing about Jason Tatum at the moment, that I still love the guy. I still think he's good. But I just don't know if that's kind of I don't know if James Harden's a player that I would necessarily want on my team. Would he be fun to play with, fun to watch? Yeah, I think it'd be fun. But at the same time, I'm not convinced that he's going to be a player that could really help us win a championship. He's going to be a great player for MVPs and getting stats. That's great and all. But right now, we are tied with championships for the Lakers. And I don't want to be tied. I want to have more championships than them. And the fact that we don't at this moment is frustrating, and I want to see us improve and get better each and every time. So that's why I'm kind of not. I'm not necessarily. I don't necessarily like James Harden on the Celtics. I don't think it makes a great deal of sense in my opinion. I mean, let's kind of look at the reports here from the Clam Chowder or whatever they call this fan side website. He did Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving. I mean, I don't know, man. I just think that his playability is similar to Jason Tatum at this point. I don't think that it's necessarily going to be a fun thing to watch. We're going to see some selfish plays, but I don't know. What do you think about trading Kemba Walker and Gordon Hayward and Drew Holiday? Imagine for Turner and Drew Holiday. You know, to be honest with you, I think that Drew Holiday actually might be a great pickup for us. I know that he doesn't necessarily fit on that young team in the Pelicans, so I would love to see us kind of get Drew Holiday. I would love to get rid of Gordon Hayward too. I think that right now his ankle injury obviously affected him more than I think a lot of us realized, and I think that we should kind of accept the fact that it's just he's not going to be the same player. And I think that we need to start to move on from him and see if someone will, take him and have a chance. Joel A. Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown. Yeah, I think Miles Turner would be a tremendous upgrade from Daniel Theis. Even though I like Theis, I think he's more of a backup center more than a starting center. But at this point, man, I don't know. It's kind of tough because I think that there could be some big mans that I like a little bit better. I don't know. Tyrese, what do you think about Vucevic? Do you think Vucevic from the Orlando Magic would be a great player to get? Or a Sabonis? A Sabonis might not be a bad pickup instead of Miles Turner. But, Baines would be an awesome pickup. I would love Baines. Baines was such an amazing player for us during that run. I would love to see Baines kind of be the player to come back for us. But I think that, Vucevic might be an option for us. We'll see what happens with Taco. I know he's training with PJF Performance. I know he's a very big James Harden guy. So we'll see what happens with that. I mean, let's see, NBA bigs. NBA bigs. Let's kind of see this. It doesn't say anything. It's kind of frustrating. We kind of see winners and losers from this draft. Doesn't really say anything. Oh, interesting. Mark. Interesting. Really, Stan Van Gundy's a winner in this one? Yeah, I think system-wise, I think Turner would actually be a perfect fit, Tyrese. As much as I would love to disagree with you and be no, we need someone that's a little bit better, more superstar presence. I think Turner's going to be a great player. And I don't think he's going to cost as much compared to the other guys I talked about. I think if the 76ers was still in turmoil and Doc Rivers wasn't the coach, I would honestly say maybe get Joel Embiid. I would love a Joel Embiid partnership in Boston as much as that would infuriate a lot of 76ers fans. I think that he actually would be a good fit. But, Miles Turner, I think, for Brad Stevens' systems, it's going to be a good one. I have a feeling the Celtics are going to do a big trade. They know they can't beat the Lakers with... Yeah, I mean, they can't. They can't beat the Lakers with this current roster. They're too young. They're inexperienced. None of them have real playoff, finals experience, which is definitely something you need for when you play other teams, like the LA Lakers, these superstar championship teams. I mean, we saw what happened when we played against Miami. We were just too young, and we didn't really have a veteran to kind of get us past it. As much as I love Kemba, he didn't have his leadership on that day, and that's kind of the frustrating thing about it. So we'll see what happens there, man. I would love to see that, but we'll see. Let's see here. I mean, I don't know. I think that when it comes to it, Sean Livingston, I think is just a little too old at this point. But I think there's a lot of decent free agents that we can get. Let's look at the NBA 2020. Oops, not 2029. 2020 free agents. I mean, there's not too many. I mean, let's kind of look at the best according to SB Nation. This is, of course, coming from SB Nation. We got Anthony Davis, Brandon Ingram, Fred VanVleet. Like, maybe we bring in a Fred VanVleet. I think that he would actually be a great leader for us. I think Fred VanVleet would actually do a tremendous job for us. I think that's someone maybe we could look at. 26 years old. Not that old, in my opinion, but we do need that veteran experience. Aaron Baines, a free agent like you talked about. Tyrese, I think he would be a great pickup. DeMar DeRozan's actually a very interesting one. I would kind of be curious to see what they will do with him. There's rumors that DeMar DeRozan might go to the Lakers. Obviously, that trade from DeMar DeRozan going from the Spurs to the Lakers is going to be null and void. But Joe Harris, another player, I definitely see him probably going to LA. I think he looks like a very LA player. Let's see, Harry Giles, not too bad of a player. Not really too crazy, but I think the Celtics have definitely a team's gonna have to get paid. Team has to get paid for it. Yeah, I mean that's kind of the thing, Tyrese. We do need a bench player, and I think Kemba Walker. I think Kemba Walker coming off the bench is a better solution. I think if he was able to come off the bench, that'd be better for me than to have. Excuse me. Drink some water real quick. I think if we could get we could get Drew Holiday, have him being in the starting lineup, and have Kemba Walker come off the bench, I think that would be a better solution because I think Kemba Walker right now, I think if he was running with the second unit, it'd be a much better team. Honestly, I think that would be a better team. And I think, like you said, adding a guy like Miles Turner could be a potentially good matchup for us, could be a good pickup for us. But we'll see, man. Like I do believe that the Celtics are kind of right now. They need to start thinking about like what's going to be going on when it comes to trying to contend for a championship. Because like you said and like we said, it's going to be one of those things where we definitely need to step it up. Yeah, but I think Rozier wanted a lot of money, and I think right now we are seeing like the tremendous progression and growth of a guy like Marcus Smart. So I don't really necessarily mind getting rid of Rozier because I think it allows him to have like a starting role that he wanted, compared to like just chilling on the bench or like just being in no man's land right now. I mean, like I think he does a more tremendous job in Charlotte than he did. I think he prefers, and I think the Celtics prefer him in Charlotte right now than anywhere else. So, I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I think that we're going to be in for a very interesting scenario when it comes to the Boston Celtics, but there's a lot of news and rumors coming along, guys, and we'll keep talking about it. I think that the Celtics right now are in a great position, but they definitely need to do a lot better job of, finishing the job. We need to finish the job. Do you think that they trade Brown and some picks for a superstar? I see this happening. Let's see here. Trading Jaylen Brown. I don't know. That one's a tough one because I think that Jaylen Brown was kind of like the first piece that the Celtics signed when they were doing their rebuild, and a lot of people, were like, "Well, let's see what the Celtics do." They drafted Jaylen Brown. Everyone questioned that pick. They were like, "Well, Jaylen Brown, he came out of Cal, wasn't really like well known." And so I think a lot of people were like, really, that's the guy you want to sign? But I think that he's an untouchable player, Tyrese. I don't think that Jaylen Brown is going to be someone that the Celtics get rid of. I think Jason Tatum's also another guy, but everyone else is touchable. Everyone else is a player that people will want to trade for, want to get rid of. And that's going to be one of those things that I could see from the Celtics is that those guys, we need to start trading away some of those pieces because I know that Danny Ainge loves to like gather pieces, like he's a hoarder. But we're definitely gonna have to turn some of that stuff and get a championship because ultimately we're failing right now in this rebuild. Somebody like I was thinking the Greek Freak, but the Milwaukee Bucks made it clear that they're not going to trade him. A team is going to get him in free agency. I think that Giannis will potentially be going to a different team at this point. But that's going to be up to the Bucks. I think the Bucks ultimately make the final call because they're not going to trade him. Even if Giannis wants to trade, they're saying no, we're not trading him. As much as I think that he should demand a trade because that Bucks team is definitely not good enough, I mean, I would love for Giannis to be on our team. I would love for him to be like the next like ball handler or guy next to Jason Tatum, and we could potentially have a superstar team. But man, I think it's going to be hard to convince the Milwaukee Bucks to trade away a player like that. I think it's going to be too hard. But I would love for Giannis to come to our team. I would love for him to grow and develop under Brad Stevens. I think Brad Stevens would do a tremendous job with him. But that's just going to be a big if that's just going to be a big if in my opinion. But we'll see. I'm curious to know how Giannis does in the near future. But I mean, other than that, that's kind of really it for news and rumors. I mean, we saw Anthony Davis. We saw the Nets getting to the top of James Harden's list. I don't think there's any other list that comes from this. Let me double check. Says something about demand the Celtics need to start looking at the Nets moves to get Harden. It's over. Yeah, I mean, I think if the Nets get Harden, I do think that the East is going to be it's going to be too tough in my opinion for any team to kind of overcome. 3 superstar players like that. I mean, I just can't believe at this point that, James Harden is going to be that's rumored and more than likely going to be going to the Nets. Like, I like if you would have told me that like a couple of weeks ago or even like a month or two ago, I would have said you're crazy. Like how? But I do think that James Harden's looking for a move. I think that right now that the Houston Rockets, they're kind of an overachieving team. They're a team that's like kind of at this moment. So I do think at this point that James Harden will be going to the Brooklyn Nets. I think that he will be a player that will help Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant win a championship. And that's going to be an interesting scenario to see a team that was once kind of originally drafted by the Thunder/Sonics could potentially be coming back together once again to play with one another. But we'll see what happens. I'm curious to know as we continue to monitor the situation for James Harden and if he's going to Brooklyn, he's not going to Brooklyn. I do believe that trade is going to happen eventually. It's just a matter of when at this point. But we'll see. I just called he would go somewhere like the Nets for the Yeah, I mean, like I said, if you would have told me that, Tyrese, a month or two ago, I would have said you're crazy. I would have said that there's no way that James Harden goes anywhere. Because I think that I think the Rockets just kind of gave to me the vibes of they're not trying to move on. They're trying to stay with the team. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Tyrese. Kemba, I love Kemba, but at the same time, he's just too small. He's too small for playoff basketball. And that's not a knock against him. It's just, I just think that he needs to be a bench player or like someone that comes off the bench as a sixth man rather than someone that's a starter. And as for Gordon, I think what happened with him is just that he got injured and that injury affected him more than I think we realized. I mean, when you break your ankle like that, that's a tremendous break, and that's something that you don't recover from. And you think like once or you think twice about it, like, oh, should I really be going up like this? Like, that's kind of the situation that we have going on. And I think that Gordon Hayward will potentially be moving on from us by trade, hopefully, because I think that he should. As much as I think that he's a good player, but at the same time, I think it's time for him to go. Because I think in order for us to really win a championship, we have to get rid of dead weight. And as much as I don't like to call him dead weight, I just think that at this point of his career, at this point of where he's at right now, he is just dead weight. So, I mean, that's just kind of my opinion about it, but we'll see. We'll see what happens, man. Gordon Hayward's our first rounders for Clay. See, I don't think the Warriors they're going to go back for a championship. I think a lot of people are underestimating the Warriors at this point. I think that they're still a good team. We kind of saw the injuries affected them a lot. Klay Thompson still had the knee injury that he was recovering from the finals. Steph Curry broke his hand. They said, you know what? You might as well just rest up. We'll be playing again next season. I think that it's one of those things where I think that the Warriors are going to be better than I think a lot of people are giving them credit for. Like, yes, they don't have their superstar players at this point, but I think that they're going to be a better team. And I think people are foolish to kind of count them out at this point because I think that they'll prove everybody wrong, and that's kind of the situation that we have going on in that aspect. So, we'll see. I'm curious to know what you guys think of all this, and ultimately we will be ending the live stream in about a couple minutes. I might go on again to kind of do a live video to have you guys watch me as I do this live video, but at the same time, as a Celtics fan, it's a little bit exciting and also a little bit worrying at this point because, you know, I would love for us to get like a guy like James Harden or a guy like Joel Embiid or Giannis or any of these superstar players, but I just don't think that's how Danny Green or Danny Ainge. I don't know why I keep want to call him Danny Green. Danny Ainge. I don't think that's how he works. I think he likes to. I think with him, he's one of those guys that wants to be involved in saying like, look, what I did. This is what I did. This is how I did it. Instead of saying, you know what, let me put my pride aside. Let me see what I can do and make some trades. And I don't think that he's willing to do that. I mean, Rob Pelinka's willing to do that. Why can't the other guys do that? And that's kind of the frustrating thing for me as a Celtics fan is that I want these superstar players. Yeah, Tyrese, I agree with you. I think that small ball at this point is kind of a dead concept because, you know, the Golden State Warriors kind of killed it with the fact that, to be honest with you, you do need a big. Like, we saw Jokic and how successful he was against the Clippers. You know, we're seeing all these bigs. You know, Anthony Davis kind of proved it. Like, you have to have a big man. Like, I know the Warriors were able to get away with it because they had a system. They were able to move around. They were able to shoot the block. But I just think that small ball, in my opinion, is a dead concept at this point. I don't think teams are really necessarily going for it because, like, who wants a guy that's like 6'2", 6'1"? You know, who wants four of those guys when you can have, like, maybe a 6'3" guy, a 6'4", and a 6'7", and a 6'11" guy that can all shoot threes. Like, you would want that because you can rebound the ball. You have more chances and opportunities to score. They're taller, they're longer, they're stronger. They'll be able to finish around the rim instead of getting guys that are 6'3", 6'4", and having those guys spread all around the court. Like, I would rather much have those type of players, but I just think that, you know, Brad Stevens, I think this is a prove-it year for Brad Stevens. If he doesn't get to the NBA Finals by this year, I think we're going to have to start questioning whether or not he was a great hire. Like, that's someone who loves Brad Stevens and his offense and loves, like, his coaching style. It's just, at this point, I think Celtics fans are kind of tired of the same old. You know, we're so close getting there, and then it's just gone. And you're right, Tyrese. Tomorrow's going to be a lot of trade rumors. There's going to be a lot of news and rumors. I kind of want to go to NBA trade rumors and kind of see if there's any other ones that are kind of out there before we start the trade eve. Let's kind of see here. You want Mark Jackson? That might not be a bad shout. Looks like Buddy Hield wants to move to the Dallas Mavericks. Ooh, this is an interesting one. Let's see. Matthews could be going there. We kind of talked about that already. Boston Celtics offering 2 first-round picks to Cleveland. Raptors. Let's see what that rumor is. And when we lose Brad, just comes with the excuse we weren't good enough is getting old. Yeah, I mean, I do agree with you with there. I mean, we have to be good enough. There's no longer this sort of scenario where, oh, you know, we're not good enough, we're too young. We have to get veteran players if we want to get championships, and you have to sign those guys. Aaron Baines is a free agent. Please, Boston, go bring him back. We were so successful with him. Bring him back and let us be more successful. Let's see here. Celtics are willing to part ways with 3 first-round picks to move up to the... Who are they trying to get? Who are they trying to get? I kind of want to see who they're trying to get. Yeah, I mean, I think Mark Jackson could be potentially a great player for those guys. I mean, Mark Jackson was a great coach, helped the shape kind of the Golden State Warriors dynasty at that point. So I see your point, Tyrese. I think that he could potentially be a great scenario fit for the Boston Celtics. But I think we need to give Brad Stevens just one more season and see what happens. If he's still kind of a bad, you know, if he's still the same old coach that we've been getting. The thing with Brad Stevens that frustrates me is that he's not like a leader type of coach. He's not a guy that's going to put his foot down and be like, hey, you know, we need to start doing this. We need to start attacking the basket. We need to start doing a lot of things. And Jason, I need you to go and attack the rim. Stop settling for these sidestep 3-pointers. That's how we lost against the Miami Heat. And instead, Brad Stevens probably said, hey, Tatum, take the best shot that you can. And Tatum was like, what's the best shot that I can take? A sidestep three-pointer. Hey, Yoy, how you doing, man? And that's kind of like a situation where I'm just tired of with Brad Stevens, is like, you need to rein in these young players and tell them, look, you need to attack the basket or let me draw you up a play that can potentially work. Because Brad Stevens is a mad genius on offense, but if he's a mad genius on offense and we're not using his capabilities and his abilities and talents to get the players to the right situation, then yeah, I think it's a wasted coaching position. You might as well make him an out of bounds coach or an offensive coordinator coach for a team. And I think that he needs to start calling those people out, whether it's Jason Tatum, whether it's Marcus Smart, whether it's Jaylen Brown. Call them out, get them going, because honestly, it's tiring at this point that Brad Stevens is this kind of mellow, laid-back coach when we need a coach sometimes to kind of not be like that. But that's kind of my rant on Brad Stevens at this point. I'm done with him, but it is what it is at this point. And hey, Yoy, how you doing, man? How are things in the Chicago area? How you doing in Chicago? But yeah, I do find this trade rumor that the Boston Celtics are going to try and get the number 4 pick. I think that's what it said. They're trying to get the number 5 pick, from the Cavs. Like, who in that draft are they wanting that top 5 pick? Let me see if I have it here. Who's like the 5th pick? Halliburton? Okay. So let's say the Celtics do trade all of their assets away that they're trying to get, and they do get the number 5 overall pick. I mean, who are they trying to get? Are they trying to get a guy like LaMelo? Could he slip to 5? Are they trying to get Okongwu, who's a great asset, a great kind of building project? Do they want Halliburton? Do they want Danny Avdija? Do they want Obi Toppin? Do they want Anthony? Like, who do they want? Like, that's an interesting scenario for the Boston Celtics for trading away those assets and getting the number 5 pick. This ESPN Plus kind of says, hey, you guys are going to get Tyrese Halliburton. He's kind of got Jordan Clarkson, Zach LaVine. Like, I don't know why Zach LaVine is like an option to be compared to. I mean, I don't know if I want a Jordan Clarkson. This is your number 5 overall pick? You want Jordan Clarkson? Donovan Mitchell, Marcus Smart, Victor Oladipo. He could potentially be a Marcus. I could see Anthony Edwards being a Marcus Smart. You think so, Yo? You think the Celtics are trying to get Obi Toppin? I mean, who they haven't compared to? Chris Middleton. I could see Obi Toppin being a Tobias Harris kind of copycat, but I don't know. Poor man Amari. See, I want to say that he is a poor man's Amari Stoudemire, but I don't know. He's kind of just like a great tweener type of player, like an Aaron Gordon, Jonathan Isaac type of guy, where he's not necessarily skilled enough to be a small forward, but he's definitely he's not big enough to be a power forward. But I don't know. I'm not saying that he can't be a great player for us, but I don't know. I'm not really convinced on Obi Toppin just yet. As a guy that I want to spend a top 5 pick on. Definitely a top 10, but top 5? It is. I mean, it's not really that late, but they want Wiseman. I mean, let's kind of look at. Gosh dang, I didn't mean to do that again. Sorry, guys. Let's see here. Go by draft. James Wiseman. Let's see his kind of player comp. Steven Adams. Karl Anthony. No, I don't see Karl Anthony Towns at this point in his career. Maybe a Miles Turner. I mean, this could be a potential Miles Turner. I know, Tyrese, you were talking about it. What do you think? Instead of trying to get Miles Turner, would you want a James Wiseman, or would you want to try and... Or you know what? I know we're kind of going conspiracy theory on all this stuff, but what if they're trying to get that number 4 pick to land a superstar player by packaging the number 5 pick, packaging the number 5 pick and a player and maybe getting a superstar player? What do you think of that, Tyrese? Packaging that number 5 pick. If the Celtics get the 5th pick and Danny Avdija... I think Danny Avdija would be a good Gordon Hayward replacement. I think when we look at Danny Avdija or Adija, like I'm butchering his name. You know, the rumors of like the shades of Shane Battier, Tobias Harris, Max Caliber. I think he's more of like a Shane like, I don't know, to attack the like. He's not a guy that I'm going to be like, he's going to be a superstar player like I talked about in my video. If you haven't watched it, go and check it out. It's actually a pretty good watch. But I don't think that when it comes to a guy like Danny Avdija, I don't think that he's kind of to be honest with you, I don't see him as a superstar player. I see him as kind of like he's a decent player. He's a role player that could potentially fill a role for us on the Boston Celtics. And I think when you have the top 5 picks, you want a guy that can change your franchise. And I don't think that he's going to trade his franchise like that. Saying we don't need 4 young players in this draft. Yeah, you're right. I mean, Danny is absolutely right. We don't need 4 young players in this draft. So what we need to start doing is trading away those assets, because I know that, you know, we talk about the Brooklyn Nets trade like since forever. So hoping that they are trying to trade it. Man, I am absolutely gobsmacked tired. I don't know why. That's my knee. You know, let's see kind of some sleepers in this draft. See if there's any, to be honest. Yeah, Tyrese, I hope they package it, because I don't want to see us, like you said, drafting 4 young players. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous at this point. Josh Green, a perimeter defender with an improved jumper. You know, Josh Green is not a bad shout. Could be going, like, I hope we go for a superstar. I would love for that to be the case, because I think that at this point the Celtics need to start this. Like, I kind of deemed it the oven baked process, but at this point we are like literally, you know, 1 season away from being overcooked. And maybe that's just because I love the cooking show so much. Maybe that's why I kind of compare it to an oven baked process. But it's true. You know, we spent so much time developing these players, whether it's Jason Tatum, Jalen Green, and then it's kind of something where I want to start seeing those pieces and assets turn into W's and, you know, conference finals, or even NBA finals. We really should have been in the NBA finals this year. It should not have been the Miami Heat. As much as I love the Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo and all those guys, it's still one of those situations where we really should have been there. And not trying to make excuses for anything. We really should have been there. And then that's the kind of the frustrating thing for me as a Celtics fan, is that that's really where we should have been. But ultimately, you know what? They didn't want it to be there. But it's a winning model. We drafted enough. We drafted the 3 players that we wanted, right? Marcus Smart, obviously kind of that role-playing role. Jaylen Brown, the number 2 star, and Jason Tatum, the number 1 star. You know, potentially number 2 star depending on what happens in the trades. But yeah, I agree with you. Like, that should have been the move. I think they could go for Embiid. See, I would love for Joel Embiid to be on our team. I kind of made a trade scenario for that. It's to trade those picks, trade away some assets, and get him. Get rid of that Gordon Hayward contract and give them all the draft picks that they want, and they can rebuild. But I think since you got Doc Rivers, I think it's going to be one of those situations where you decide as a coach. I think they need to decide as the 76ers, and this is just me kind of going off speculation, but I think the 76ers need to decide whether or not they're going to go full on in with Joel Embiid or Ben Simmons, because I think that you can't keep both of them on the same team. I think that both of them kind of have not animosity, but they're both players that play low post perimeters games, and we know that Ben Simmons can't shoot at this point. So, I mean, that's just kind of my opinion on the things, but you know, we'll see what happens. I'm interested to see how free agency goes, like what's going to be going on. But who knows? Who knows about that? Let's kind of look at a little bit of more stuff to look at really quick. See if there's any articles on ESPN Plus. You know, let's see here. Teams with the most and least spending power. See if we can kind of look at tier 2s. Dallas Mavericks. I think they could be going because they're trying to trade up for how high they're going. It just doesn't make sense to draft a young player to keep developing. you're right. There is no LeBron James in this draft. I think the LeBron James type of players are in the next couple of drafts, whether it's Chet Holmgren, whether it's Amani Bates, whether it's Mikey Williams. Goes to Hoops Hype. Let's kind of look. Okay, let's go to Hoops Hype. Kind of look at some news and rumors there. Yeah. I have ad blocker. Deal with it. Yeah, but I do agree with you, Tyrese. There's no sort of NBA superstar or any type of LeBron James or even any of these superstars that we have in our league right now. There's like no one in this draft, I don't think. I think LaMelo Ball is, but that's just kind of my opinion on it. Let's see here. Got player salaries. Tyrese, what put? Let's see here. Talks to free agency. Let's kind of look at some Russell Westbrook news. Charlotte Hornets could be a potential trading thing. Orlando Magic, New York Knicks. I think it's either the Clippers or the Knicks, in my opinion. I think that the Knicks, have the lead for me on Westbrook going there because I think when it comes to, like I said, I think the lifestyle, the way that, Westbrook is, I think New York fits his personality and lifestyle more than I think the LA Clippers do. I think even though Westbrook is from LA, he just has that New York vibe to him. And and that's not necessarily a knock. That's just kind of the situation that I think that Westbrook finds himself in. I think that he could potentially be a guy that, runs the show, wins another MVP maybe if he, performs at a great rate. But I think if he wants to win a championship, obviously go to the Clippers. See here. Base sleepers. Let's see here. Trade rumors. Burn Smith, 100%. Pack can be happier. Let's see here. I'm trying to think if there's anything. NBA prospect building his own basketball analytical model. This is officially the NBA shortest season ever. Ranking 2020 free agents by career earnings. No. Denver Booker doesn't want out of Phoenix. That's good because Chris Paul potentially could be going there. Let's kind of look at the rumor rankings really quick. We got Drew Holiday. Their Celtics page? Okay, let me see. Is this the page you're talking about, Tyrese? It's Hoops Hype. Let me see if I can make this smaller for us so we can actually look at what we're seeing here. Okay, perfect. Is this the page you're talking about, Tyrese? The Ball is in Boston today for some meetings with Puma, but he's not working out with the Celtics. Dang it. I would love for him to be a Celtic. That's just me selfishly wanting LaMelo Ball to be a Celtic. I would love for him to be a Celtic, to be honest with you. But I just don't see it. Let's see here. Scroll down a little bit. Knicks interested in Gordon Hayward. Let's see what Kevin O'Connor has to say. Of The Ringer, I came out with another bombshell. The Knicks are interested. Let's see here. Obviously, Gordon Hayward, who's obviously rumors. Move on. The Knicks are interested. I've heard. I mean, hell, I would love, if the Knicks want him, you can take him. I mean, if we can get rid of that contract, we can eventually sign a superstar player in the near future. I'm just not I'm not a big fan of Gordon Hayward at this point of his career. I was when he was in Utah, but obviously the ankle injury is definitely affecting him. Let's see here. He's interviewed with the teams. As he says, he met virtually with several teams because of Boston. Interesting. Cole Anthony. Interesting. Interesting. I didn't really think of Cole Anthony as a bad teammate, but maybe. Okay, so they're trying to get in to the top 10. Mitchell Robinson would actually be a really good player. The only problem with Mitchell Robinson at this point is his shooting and also his finishing around the rim. I think he's more of just kind of like a DeAndre Jordan shot blocker. You got to throw oops to him in order for him to score. But I think Mitchell Robinson would definitely be a great player. Kongwe Okoro, I mean, he's kind of an interesting player. He kind of reminds me of a Bam Adebayo, in my opinion. That could potentially be a good pickup. But, Miles Turner, there's rumors there. Killian Hayes hasn't much Hasn't had a chance to talk to Daniel Theis, Jalen Green, who played Crimson. Yeah, I don't want Killian Hayes, and I'll do a video on him before the draft. I'm just not like a big fan of that. Looks like Miami Heat could be landing Danilo Gallinari. That's fine. You know, Drew Holiday could be going to the Celtics. That, like I said, that could be a huge pickup for us. I would actually love that. Fred VanVleet. Like I said, I would love Fred VanVleet to be on the team with us, but I don't know. Oh, this is Poirier. You know, Poirier, we'll see what happens with him. I'm not sure about Poirier, to be honest with you. He could be all right. Ooh, interesting. Player options deadline will occur after the draft, not before. Interesting. That's actually really interesting that the players' options, like he thinks that the player options will occur after the draft, because I think that makes it tough for teams to kind of decide, okay, like where are we going, where are we not going? But I don't know. Could be going for, like, the thing with Denny Tyrese is that I like him. I think he's actually a really good player, and if he develops under the right system, the right team, like I talked about in my video, he could potentially be a good player for somebody. But I just don't see, like I said, I think he could potentially be like a Gordon Hayward replacement. Like, he's not going to be a guy that is going to blow off your seats. He's not going to be a guy that, you know, makes a superstar team. He's going to be a role player. And I think that he's going to be a really good role player. So I could potentially see him, you know, taking that Gordon Hayward role and potentially doing it a lot better. It just depends on his athleticism. If he's more athletic than I think he is, if he's more athletic than I think he is, then he can potentially be a good player and help us win championships and help us win a championship and help us win games. But that's a big if, in my opinion. So we'll see what happens. We got, who's this? Is this Rob Perez?
He knows what he's doing.
Yeah, that's Rob Perez. Shout out to him. Shout out to Rob Perez there, man. I like him. But like I said, nevertheless, I mean, Danny Advija, whatever, however you want to pronounce his name, could be a good player for us. But it all depends on like what's going on in this environment. So we'll see. I'm not necessarily convinced. You know, RJ Hampton also worked out for us. I mean, that could potentially be another player that, you know, we'll see how he does. I know he works with what's his name? Tyler Ralph, I think. He works with Tyler Ralph. He's like a guy out of Texas. Watch a couple of his Instagram highlights. I mean, he looks like a really solid player. I'm not gonna deny his things. I don't know his aspects, but I mean, let's see here. You know, we got Tommy. You know, rest in peace to the legend. Could we see CJ McCollum going there? You know, I think that'd be an interesting one as Cantor. Talking about Joe Biden, President-elect Joe Biden. Let's see here. Yeah, I mean, this is kind of it, to be honest with you guys. I mean, like, thank you, Tyrese, for showing me this. I know I follow Hoops Hype from time to time, but I'll definitely have to be using it a little bit more often. But I mean, at the end of the day, when it comes down to the Boston Celtics, they have to make moves. And I think that drafting players is going to be the biggest. We're going to be the biggest losers in the draft if we draft players. I'm being dead serious, because we don't need young players anymore. We need players that are experienced. We need players that help us win games. We need players that can actually do something for us and not sit on our hands and pray that these young players become great players, you know? Because like I said, we have a limited window as when we can win a championship. And right now, that window is closing and closing every day, every more. But let's see what happens. I mean, I think, like you, Tyrese, my gut feeling is that we will get Drew Holiday. Miles Turner, I'm not so sure about. I'll be hoping for like a guy like for Karl-Anthony Towns or like Joel Embiid, but Miles Turner is definitely not a bad shout. But like I said, the Celtics have to make some moves. They have to make some strong moves, and if they don't, we're going to be in some serious trouble. But anyway, guys, thank you once again for joining me here on the stream. Tyrese, Eoy, I really appreciate you guys coming out and watching the stream. It was a blast talking to you, talking some Celtics basketball, obviously talking some Lakers earlier in the stream. It was a lot of fun. And like I said, guys, there's some merch that we're going to be potentially getting out there. If you guys are interested in that merch, let me know in the comment sections down below of this video. and I'll start working on that process and getting you guys the merch. But really, guys, I really appreciate everything that you guys do for me. Tyrese, thank you once again for coming to the stream. It was a fun talking to you. The New Year's Eve has officially been over. Tomorrow we will get plenty of rumors and we'll get plenty of information as to who and what's going to be going on, what players are going to be moving where. But like I said, guys, thank you once again for joining me. The stream of this will be changed, obviously, to the Boston Celtics. This has kind of been a Boston Celtics stream for the last, 45 minutes. But like I said, Tyrese, Eoy, to everyone else watching, thank you so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate everything that you do for us here on the channel. We want to continue to grow. We want to continue to develop. So let me know, like I said, in the comment section, what you guys think of all the news and rumors that's going around for the Boston Celtics, for the Lakers, what they're going to be going through. But anyway, guys, like I said, my name is Bernie here on The Charge. News and rumors is my thing. We'll catch you on the next video, guys.